Hey, Professor Dave here. In this video, we're going to talk about how to create openings, but also closing them when there's gaps. So I'll show you one of my most powerful techniques. It doesn't have a great name. I just call it split, throw away garbage. You'll see why. Let's jump into Rhino. So the premise here is we're not going to try to build anything that can be done simpler with two surfaces or three. So I see a lot of beginners trying to put curves where all the edges are, and then struggling to find a command that just connects everything. So my premise here is it's so much easier to build two or three different surfaces, intersect them, and then you have the final surface. Way, way easier. So let's jump over to the side view. This is where people get into trouble on occasion. First of all, this is done correctly. This is a control point curve. If I turn the control points on, you'll see it's just got 5 points. So that is good. The fact it's gone out and past. This is part of the premise. But what people will sometimes do is trim using the cutting object, select, right click to say okay, and then it'll pick the surface. It's kind of interesting. You didn't have to have this go all the way through. It's simple enough. This curve was flat. It was on a construction plane. The surface it was trimming wasn't that complicated. The problem people will run into is they go, okay, how do I close it? So this is what I'm going to show you today. We can undo this, but let's say, here's the bonus tip, that you just opened this file and you can't undo. So you can go over to the button here called Trim. And if you notice, if you right click, it's Untrim. So I'm going to click on this edge and whoa, remember that. Untrim will close stuff back up. And Rhino remembers what the original whole part was. It's also under Surface, Edit Tools, and Untrim right there. 2 places to find it. Okay, what I'm going to recommend to have this both open and capped or closed is we're going to make a surface with this curve here, and we'll do a simple extrusion. So I'm going to select it, go to Surface, Extrude Curve Straight. It's flat, so that's going to work really well and predictable. And I'm on the construction plane, and the default is just to go one way. So that's not going to work, so you can hit the letter B or come up to the command line and hit both sides. One of the keys here you got to remember is just always make things way, way bigger. So you don't want to try to guesstimate where it's hitting. You don't care. Go way past it. What we're going to do is just make sure that these both intersect each other. And the reason is they will be so much cleaner and with no gaps whatsoever. Those are sometimes called naked edges. So let's start off with the process. And we're going to use split, not trim. We're going to use split. So here's the split command. This is like a trim, but it doesn't throw any of the excess away. It leaves them in place. And that's actually a good idea. We may need them if it gets complicated, and we can split with the opposite side. So we're starting split. We're going to do this in 2 rounds. Basically, we're going to split A, the first one, right click, to B, right click. You can look up in the command line, and there it looks like it worked. So now let's reverse the process. We can hit split again. And this time we just go from B, right click, to A. And again, we're leaving all these pieces here. If this doesn't work, you can pick the other side. If that doesn't work, you can pick both sides, and it will definitely work. So I'll just pick this one. They're pretty simple. It's not going to be a problem. And according to the command line, it's split into 2 surfaces. This is the point where many people say, what a mess. Why'd we do it this way? I'm confused. Well, if you remember what I said, you're going to build 2 things bigger, split them to each other, then throw away the garbage. So this is excess, we don't need it. That's excess, don't need it. Now you can see the magic of this system. These 2 surfaces are guaranteed to join and close 100% of the time because you split them to each other. So we can prove that by just selecting. Now they're not joined right now. They're basically touching exactly, so they can be joined. So I'm going to pick both with using Shift. You can hit the puzzle piece here or Control J, Command J, and then look at the command line. This is where I get a lot of information. 2 surfaces joined into 1 closed polysurface. That's important both for prototyping and manufacturing, but also if I were to just maybe do a render, I would want to put a fillet there. I don't want sharp edges. So let's go to solid. We're going to use solid fillet because these guys are joined. And there's the fillet edge. I'm going to, radius of 1's a little bit small. Let's just type in 5. Now, since I've kept this pretty clean, you notice it just goes all the way around all at once. So that's a really good reminder. If you have lots of pieces that you have to pick one at a time, it could have been simpler. Okay, we're gonna right-click again to accept, and there's the fillet, nice and clean. It works because we gave it the right input geometry. Now, if that's a little too complicated, you're just seeing a lot of ISO curves, don't worry. We can just come over here to the properties and turn those off. So that's a really simple, clean surface. All right, so that's the basics of how to open and then close or cap a different surface, depending on what you're building. So remember, split, split, throw away garbage. And if you're not sure what's happening or need to open up an old file, just use the Edit Tools Untrim.